Imagine the world without books or the ability to read. In other words, imagine what human beings would be without the alphabet, without writing, and without books. Many would certainly find human existence without books and literacy almost unrecognizable. All our cultures, all our religions, all our most cherished values and our most veritable skills, namely care for children, loved ones, the old and the sick, farming, the building of houses, roads, bridges, etc., have come from books, or some special books, or our ability to write down our experiences and memories for others to know them. In a word, the passion to read them and store them for the succeeding generations. It is in this sense that reading, or the ability to read, or the habit of reading, is central to all human cultures. Without reading and the ability to read, we would not be able to understand our religions and what they teach us, i.e., how to live a rich and fulfilled life without pain in the body or terror in the mind. A long time ago, when human beings had not yet invented writing, whether phonetic or alphabetic, human beings lived more or less like the animals, living in caves, foraging for food, or only living and dying without any memory or heritage. But when human beings invented writing, or the signs by which to symbolize themselves and the world in which they lived, they became truly human beings, that is, very different from the other animals. It was then on that human beings invented memory and culture, the capacity and need to shape the mouth of the earthen pot, to mold clay in a certain pattern, to build a house in a certain style, to mark day and night and time with a purpose, to store food for the next day, and to seek to know who they were in relation to the mountains, rivers, trees, rocks, and other human beings. But the invention of writing was also the invention of reading, for as far as we know, only human beings can read and therefore write. Human culture, in fact, is available only to those who can read. What we call educated people are really those who are literate, that is, those in the possession of an alphabet, namely those who can read and do read or have read a great deal of books and are, to the same degree, acquainted with books and writing and learning. This is chiefly why in modern society today there are the skilled and the unskilled. The skilled are those who have been to school or college, have read a great deal of those books we are required to read in schools, from primary school through to university. The skilled, or those who have read and are continually reading, are rewarded with important positions or roles in society. For example, it's hard to imagine a governor, a president, doctor, an engineer, a pilot, or a professor who has not read or who did not previously do any reading. In other words, who is not educated. But there are other benefits of reading, or of having read and being able to read. Reading enlarges the mind. Those who have read many, many books are likely to be broad-minded, cosmopolitan, nice and pleasant. They have enlarged their knowledge of other people, other cultures, and can be called truly human beings because their mind can appreciate or has accommodated differences between themselves and others. Indeed, such experience, such refinement comes and can come only with a passion for reading. It is reading which makes possible what may be called the humane spirit, or what is called culture, the pursuit of edification, knowledge, spiritual growth, and what the great 19th century English humanist Matthew Arnold called, in a memorable phrase, sweetness and light, or the best that has been thought and said in the world. It is also in this sense that reading excites the imagination. It takes one to new experiences, to different kinds of people and cultures, to fantasy worlds, realistic worlds, surrealistic visions of life and places, and to new characters and identities and consciousnesses. Reading is, in this sense, a voyage to yourself, to ourselves, and could therefore make you discover something that you yourself or thought could not think but could appreciate. In this sense, then, reading makes us know more and more about who we are and what we can do for the world, our society, our community, or our family. This is in fact the key reason why we go to school or seek formal education. to expand our horizon and identity, and the skills by which we make our lives better and better, and heritage or culture to our children and our children's children. But you will notice that these things I have mentioned go on forever and do not stop even for a moment. Even when we die, others who live on carry them along. It is also in this sense that reading cannot and will never stop. Yet this is also why we too must go on reading. First, if only to remain human. Second, if only to know more about our identity, including our religion, the society, the world, and the universe. Therefore, read, 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 and never stop reading. Read everything you can, from your religious textbooks, your school books, and the stories in other books, to the newspaper, the road signs, and the writing on bridges, walls, and billboards. This is why I would recommend that you read at least 2 pages every day before you go to bed. Read the interesting stories in Maganajarichi, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, 101 Nights, Things Fall Apart, Jiki Magai, the novels of Garcia Marquez, Naguib Mahfouz, and Joseph Conrad, the plays of Shakespeare, the poems of Omar Khayyam, Pablo Neruda, Wordsworth, and Moody Speaking, the philosophical ruminations of Ibn Rushd, and the hundreds of exciting stories in books written in our native languages. For example, read the Quran, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, Book of the Dead, the dictionary, etc. Read poems, novels, plays, newspaper reports, anything you can lay your hands on. You can read not only in the library, but also in your room, in the toilet, or in the kitchen, or wherever you happen to be. Let me emphasize this: reading is an oasis which comes over to you like an absolute surprise. But it is also a desert guide and a prayer that knows its destination. This is why to read or to engage in reading is to invent, and to invent would be to know and how to say come and to answer the come of other human beings. Reading is, I dare say, a gift of and for human beings alone. We must therefore read and read and read. Only then can we write and be able to write. Only then can we be educated. Only then can we be full and enriched human beings and thus be literate and civilized. In conclusion, I say to the reader, if we all stop reading or would not read or can't read, then there would be no books, schools, money, cars, bicycles, roads, bridges, houses, beds, radios, clothes, shoes, indeed society itself, or in other words, we, the human beings. Many of you would say this is unimaginable or unthinkable or even calamitous, a situation in which there are no books, no readers, or no reading itself. If this is the case, then it all goes to show how important reading is. For without books, readers, and reading, we would all be thrown back to the earliest beginnings of time, when human beings lived like the animals that we see around us today, wholly dependent on the natural world and therefore without culture, intelligence, or enlightenment.